Good morning. With me
Before the raids even began, federal investigators
human
had already seen enough to know this was
trafficking
not
ring
ordinary
run by
health
Chinese
fraud. 3 weeks before the
criminal
criminal takedown, a team of forensic accountants
syndicates
working inside a
oversee
secure facility at FBI headquarters in Washington, D.C. cracked
This
open
is
encrypted files pulled from a
coast to
cloud
coast,
server.
the
What they found made veteran
largest
investigators
enforcement
who had
sweep
spent
of the year.
decades chasing organized crime go silent.
Operation
Hidden within layers of password-protected folders were communications between Dr. Marcus
here,
Ashford
revealing
and
the
pharmaceutical suppliers operating in India,
terrifying
China, and
reality
Mexico.
hidden
But these were not legitimate medications.
behind those
These were underground manufacturers.
polished spa
Messages
signs.
discussed bulk orders for counterfeit
Let's
prescription
stop.
pills,
first door opens
fake oxycodone,
Dive in right-
fentanyl, generic Xanax bars made in facilities with no safety
now.
oversight. The plan had a name buried in the file metadata. Phase 3.
King
The goal
Task
was
Force,
terrifying.
downtown
Replace
Franklin,
legitimate pharmacy inventory with cheaper, fake versions.
and the Alabama
Bill
human
insurance
traffic
at full price and triple profit margins.
is part of a
Patients
nationwide
unknowingly consumed pills that could kill them. With a
police have
single dose.
confirmed
2 days after that
that the
discovery,
FBI carried
DEA
out
chemical analysis teams were dispatched to examine a
a
warehouse
raid
in Ontario, California, flagged during
on a
financial
massage facility,
The building was registered as a
Down a
Medline
massage
logistics hub for medical supply storage.
parlor, and
When agents entered with
Authorities
a
shut
federal warrant
down.
at dawn, they found rows of shelving units holding cardboard boxes stacked floor to ceiling.
served search
Inside
warrants
those boxes were pharmaceutical
at
bottles,
3 locations
tens of thousands of them. Each bottle had perfect
Agencies.
replica labels from major manufacturers.
of law enforcement.
But when DEA chemists ran
Involving
laboratory
hundreds
tests on random samples, results
Side
were
operation.
catastrophic. The pills contained inconsistent
Federal
doses,
investigators
dangerous filler compounds.
have
Some
now
batches
launched
had fentanyl concentrations lethal enough to
of the
stop
year
a heart within minutes.
a
Investigators
coordinated
immediately traced the shipping records and
run
uncovered
by
payments
Chinese
to 3
operators,
corrupt customs brokers working at the port
massage
of
parlors,
These brokers had
an
been paid
extensive
$20,000 per container to
Work
waive
of
through
mas-
shipments labeled as nutritional supplements or medical
sweep
equipment.
targeted
6
multi-state
shipments had already cleared customs over the previous 8 months.
working quietly with
Phase 3 was not a future threat.
enforcement
It was already in motion. But the truly
An everyday
explosive
American
evidence came from a former Medline
American
operations
community.
manager who agreed to cooperate with federal prosecutors in exchange for a reduced sentence. During a recorded interview inside a federal safe house, he described something Ashford kept completely compartmentalized from the main telehealth network. He called it the priority channel. It was a private
Coast to coast
prescription service for VIP clients.
More than 30
professional athletes,
suspects were taken in
people who wanted controlled substances
to custody,
with absolute discretion
and over
zero
60
oversight.
victims
The manager
were
kept
rescued
his own records as insurance, knowing the operation
from
was
forced
criminal.
labor
He provided investigators
labor
with names,
and sexual
transaction dates, and encrypted
will
account
exploit.
When FBI cyber teams cross-referenced this information against seized server data,
The scope
they found
of the
a client list containing over 200 high-profile individuals.
even veteran
Among them were a sitting
agents
state senator,
stunned
2 federal judges,
by how
a former Olympic gold
widely
medalist, and a CEO
the network had
whose company
spread
was worth billions.
from
Each had been
Texas
receiving oxycodone, Adderall,
in
or
California
other controlled medications for
California
years, delivered in unmarked
to New York,
packages,
Missouri,
billed through untraceable
Oklahoma.
shell. The priority channel was
Missouri and
Ashford's leverage, his protection.
for years.
He had dirt on people powerful enough
This type
to
of
shield
traffic-
him from investigation. Or so
People
he
assumed that
At 9:47 a.m.
There's many
Eastern
people
Standard Time,
King
the
exist
Department of Justice announces the largest
Only on
healthcare
the
fraud and prescription drug trafficking
edges of
takedown in
major
American history. Over
Major cities or near-
$470 million in fraudulent billing.
your
More
international.
than 8 million illegally distributed
This week, shattered
32 states compromised. 14 federal judges signed
National
sealed
borders.
warrants simultaneously across 2 time zones. And at the center of it all, one man who turned American
that
healthcare
belief.
into a narcotics pipeline while dining with senators and funding political campaigns. This is not about a few corrupt doctors writing bad prescriptions. This is about a telehealth empire that weaponized the American medical system, turned licensed physicians into script dealers, and flooded
The
streets with opioids,
investigation
benzodiazepines, and controlled substances
uncovered a
at
transit
industrial scale,
national
hiding behind the
criminal
appearance
network.
of legitimate telemetry.
Work hiding
The
in
network you were about to hear
plain
about
sight.
operated like a cartel. It
Using
had enforcement,
everyday
it had logistics,
storefront
it had political
fronts
protection,
and
and it nearly
shopping
became untouchable.
center.
If you think you understand healthcare fraud,
to move
you are not
women
prepared for what federal
women
agents
across
found inside
suburban
this operation.
It's back to
4:38
in
a.m.
China.
Pacific Time, Los Angeles,
Criminal
California.
groups,
The
criminal
streets are empty
Selling
except for
profit.
the hum of distant
funnel
traffic on the 101.
country while
Fog
across
rolls
the
through downtown like a curtain,
what
and the only lights
look like
burning this early belong
actually
to all-night diners,
a nation
Federal Bureau of
nationwide
Investigation.
where
36 unmarked vehicles,
Tension,
moving in perfect coordination with the
coercion,
financial district.
and profit.
FBI,
on
DEA, Department of Health and Human Services,
The
Office of Inspector General,
arrests alone were
IRS, Criminal
enough to make
Investigation Division.
headlines.
They are not
but
here
the
for one target.
built
They are here
good
for
wellness
17
exposed
simultaneously.
something even more
Across
or
Los
disturb-
Angeles, San
details
Diego, Houston, and
victims
Dallas,
between
federal strike
rotating
teams are
victims,
closing in on
cartel
telehealth
road-
clinics, billing centers,
of a car-
server farms,
secrecy,
luxury penthouses,
discipline, and
and private medical offices that
the
exist only on paper.
functioned with
The first breach happened
The
at a
operation-
high-rise office tower in
the
Century City.
agent,
Glass doors,
investigation,
marble lobby,
the invest
a brass plaque,
security,
Medline
according to a
Solutions, healthcare
Homeland.
Corporation. The building looks like any other corporate
Something-
headquarters, but at 4:41
states
a.m.,
forging business
23 FBI agents
and laundry
in tactical vests pour through the
firms.
entrance with a battering ram and federal
health
warrant.
consulting
They move fast,
rating as health
flashlights
companies
cutting through dark hallways,
masquerade
voices shouting federal
through
agents,
small ship
hands visible,
during millions
not
of
moved.
dollars
Office doors
business
slam
licenses
open. Employees still working the overnight shift freeze at their desks, hands in the air, faces pale under LED screens. Inside the main operations floor, agents find rows of cubicles filled with customer service representatives
Each
wearing headsets. But these are
so-called
not
spot
healthcare workers. They are script processors.
law wasn't merely
On the monitors in front of them are patient
offering
intake
illegal
forms, thousands of them, scrolling,
services.
autopopulating, names,
It was a
birth
fully
dates, insurance numbers,
integrated
and at the
hub,
bottom of each form, a single check
been a transnational
approved prescription.
national
No medical evaluation, no video consult,
operation
no physician review,
built
just
on
click, approve, bill.
deception, digital
One agent
coordination,
pulls a hard drive from a server rack in the back room.
and fear.
Another opens a filing cabinet and finds it stuffed
The
with
victim-
blank prescription pads,
Them
pre-signed
Chinese
by licensed doctors who may not
victims,
even know
most
their
of them
names are being used.
Citizens were
In a locked office on the 14th floor, agents discovered
Fake
duffel
job
bags
eyes
containing
locked up postings
$260,000 in cash
that promised
bundled with rubber bands.
legitimate work
Next to the cash are ledgers,
only
handwritten,
only to have their
weekly script counts,
passports
payout
confiscated
percentages, and bonuses for top-performing call centers.
windows,
But the
sleeping
real discovery comes when a
living
digital
on
forensic
thin
specialist cracks open an
mats and
encrypted
closet
laptop
side
left on a
sized
mahogany
rooms.
desk. The screen
Their
lights
every
up.
move
And what they see is not a patient
dis-
database. It is a command network.
discovery
A
stuff.
master operations dashboard with
who
live
describe-
feeds from 14
Describe
telehealth
the setup
platforms operating under different names
up as
across the
industrial
country. Each platform is
Socialized
connected to offshore billing companies in the Cayman
exploitation.
Islands, Malta, and Cyprus. Each one processing thousands of prescriptions per day.
Speed and
for
precision of the
oxycodone,
crackdown highlight
hydrocodone, Xanax, Adderall, and fentanyl.
how massive this
patches.
lighted
The system
just
is automated, industrial, built for volume. And in the center of the dashboard is a name: Dr. Marcus Ashford, CEO, founder, political donor, the
Friday
architect.
renewals.
Erasure. 7 a.m. joint
6:17
digital
a.m.
evidence directly
FBI
connects the American
cybercrime
operations to
Los
Chinese
Angeles
criminal
field
organ.
Desk.
A team of analysts sits in a windowless room surrounded by monitors
This is an
displaying
adoption
financial
fraud.
transaction
This is
trees that
systematic
look like
child
neural
Detailing
networks.
payments, client
They've been
schedules,
working
and
since the
victim
raid began,
transfers.
tracing the
According
money,
to officials,
following
the
the prescriptions,
No address.
mapping the network.
Miami.
organizations
uncover
that
is
have been on
not
federal
telehealth
watch
companies.
lists for years.
It is a prescription
for law
laundering
enforcement.
empire disguised as innovation.
Only a time.
A
The
digital
operation
map
has a
of Florida
code name
fills the
buried
wall.
in the server
Red
files.
markers
Time window.
Project
The rate
pulse
Lifeline.
across
Results of this
And it was
week's
designed to
operation
do
deliver
one
two
thing.
unmistakable
Turn
stops
American
being about
patients
who is
into a
in
revenue
cuffs.
stream
Dozens
for a
of
drug
locations.
distribution network
Each
that
marker
never
represents
touched a
controls,
single pill,
renewals,
but
rotations,
profited
and
from
pickups.
every one.
Work.
Here's how it
Adoption
worked.
agencies, private
Medline
residences,
Syndicate operated
storage
dozens of
units,
telehealth
hospital records
websites with
offices.
names that sounded clinical and trustworthy. Digital Care Now,
It becomes
Wellness
about
Direct,
who
Site linked to the
Prime
Gulf
Script
Shadow
Health,
Network.
patients would fill out an online form claiming symptoms like chronic pain, anxiety, or insomnia.
First, human trafficking
Within
networks
minutes,
are no
they would
longer
receive
limited to
consultation.
border regions or
Often
coastal
nothing more
hubs.
than a chatbot
They've been operating
interaction
deep
or a
inside every
90-second
By the
phone
time
call
the
with
last
someone
door is
claiming to be a
secured,
nurse.
800 federal
No
agents
physical
everyday
exam,
American communities.
no medical history
And
review,
second, federal agencies
no
are ready to
verification.
confront them with the
Then
same
the prescription would be
intensity.
issued
Closing.
automatically,
The agents do not call it
electronically
yet.
transmitted
They
to a
write the
partner
next
pharmacy,
task forces.
often a
Department
small
of
independent
Homeland Security.
location.
They
that
use
has been
against
paid to
narcotics
process
and
high
terrorism.
volumes without asking
Every
questions.
search warrant served every victim
Patient would
rescued
receive
and every
their medication.
Because if the
Insurance
hub gets
companies
one
or
warning,
Medicare would
the
be billed,
entire
investigations
and Medline
teams.
Syndicate would take
Black
a cut
Hawk
from
helicopters
every
lift off from
transaction.
home.
suspect taken into
30% from the
custody
pharmacy,
is part of a wider
20%
effort
from the
to
billing
expose the
process.
underground
Another
economy
15%
built
routed through
will
shell
disappear
companies that
before the
existed
next
only as
sunrise.
names on incorporation
Air
documents
Reserve
filed in
Base,
Delaware and
carrying
Nevada.
tactical units toward rural
But the
safe
fraud
houses
went
in the
deeper.
Everglades. Armored
Analysts
vehicles
find that
roll
many
through
of the
the
on
prescriptions
control
were written
and
for
silence.
patients who never requested them.
Officials say this marks
Stolen
the
identities,
start of a long-term
fake Social
campaign.
Security
3
numbers,
a.m.
deceased
Orlando
individuals
and
whose
Jacksonville.
Medicare accounts were
At
still
exactly
active.
7:42 a.m.
The system
the operation
generated
Campaign to
ghost
dismantle
patients,
trafficking
inflate billing
operations,
numbers.
hiding behind
In one
legitimate
case,
business.
a woman in Ohio who died in
ICE
2021
and the
was billed for over $40,000 in
Miami.
oxycodone
Their warning is
prescriptions
direct.
written in 2024. Her insurance
The I
paid,
move on
Medline
address is
collected.
tied to
Wood District.
No one
Agents
noticed.
storm a two-bedroom apartment
The
used
financial
as a
web
document
is
staging center.
staggering.
They seize
Over 230
fake
shell
birth certificates,
companies,
court
fake
seals from
nonprofit foundations claiming to provide addiction treatment while funneling money into
Head office
offshore
above a
accounts.
travel
Restaurant
agency,
chains
a
and
rented
logistics
condo
firms
listed
used as
under a
fronts to
nominee,
move
a
cash
storage
without
unit,
triggering
four
federal
states,
reporting
and-
thresholds.
Paid 6
And at the
months in
top of it
cash.
all is
The
Dr.
doors
Marcus
open
Ashford,
clean because
a
the
man with
operator
no
never
active medical
expects a knock.
practice,
Two
a
high-end
man who
printers
has
still
not
warm
seen a
from
patient
use.
in over a decade.
For every shop that gets
A
shut
man who
down,
spent
another
the
may
last
attempt to
5
open,
years
but the
donating
era of
millions to
operation
political campaigns,
Used as a
hosting
temporary holding
fundraisers in
location
Malibu
for
beach
infants before
houses,
placement.
and sitting on
Inside,
healthcare
agents
policy
find three
advisory
babies under
boards
6
while his
months old in
network
cribs,
prescribed 8
cared for by a
million
woman.
Operating
doses of
unnoticed
controlled
is
substances
coming to
into
an end.
American communities.
Behind those quiet
This is
storefronts and
not corruption.
Answers first.
This is
Who believed she
command
was
level
running a licensed
collusion.
daycare.
unexpected.
This is not
Inside the massage parlors,
this is
investigate
engineered exploitation of a
Orlando,
healthcare
Pine
system
Hills.
designed to trust
dimly lit
doctors
signs.
and
What
protect
agents
patients.
uncovered during the raids was far
And what you have
worse than
seen
any.
so
Filing
far is
cabinets
only
hold
the
copies
surface.
of licenses for businesses that
7:53
claim
a.m. Joint
Raiders
Operations
found a
Command
world
Center,
shaped by fear,
Federal
isolation, and
downtown
control.
Los
different
Angeles.
owners but share the
A
same
massive
sponsor.
digital map
Renew-
covers the
Ybor
wall,
City,
stretching
a law
15
office
feet
fronting
across.
as an adoption consultancy.
Red markers
Agents
pulse
are
across
The
California
victims,
and
mostly
Texas.
women from China, were compelled
Each
to
one
live and
represents
work
a
under
raid
constant
target.
surveillance.
Telehealth
Full
clinics,
receipts are sorted
billing
by
centers,
week, not by company.
pharmacy networks,
A printer
doctor
fake custody
offices,
agreements and filed
private
them with-
residences. There are 64 markers in total. The operation commander, a
Sits
senior
warm
FBI
with the
official
same
whose name
signature
remains
templates. Two
sealed for
attorneys who
security,
draft-
Their freedom had
stands
been
in front of the
replaced
map
by
and
daily
addresses over
quotas and hidden
200 federal
cameras.
agents assembled in
Condo, the
tactical
money
gear.
explains the system.
By 10
This
a.m.,
is what he
the
says.
sweep is complete.
We are
18
not
arrests.
shutting down. a
Some
business.
women slept on thin blankets
dismantling
behind
a
massage
machine
tables, while
that turns
others were
prescription
confined to
into
closets.
profit and
Cash
pain
is
into a
counted in
product.
fixed bundles.
Some of
sealed
you will
by
hit
day.
clinics.
Then
63
Some will hit
locations
data
raided.
centers.
Over
Some will arrest
400,000
doctors
documents
who
seized.
sold
or
their
storage
license.
rooms converted
Some
into
will bring in the
makeshift
man who built
dormitories.
this empire.
are circled for
Move
months.
fast.
That is
Move
not
clean.
scheduling.
And remember,
that is production.
every prescription we
In the
stop
Linking the
today
network
is
to
a
over
life
200
we might
adoptions
save tomorrow.
processed in the last 4 years.
At exactly
Sealed again by
8:04 a.m.,
location.
the second
Gold
wave
bars
begins.
sit in a kitchen cabinet
Dozens
next
of
to
federal
receipts
teams
for
hit
real
their
estate
targets
deposits.
simultaneously.
Seized.
In
And
San
a quiet
Diego,
suburban home in
agents
Kissimmee,
breach a
Florida,
luxury
agents
condo
finally
overlooking the
found
The
bay.
air was heavy
You
with
find a physician
disinfectant and
assistant
cigarette
living in a
smoke,
penthouse
and the
funded
walls were
entirely by script kickbacks.
Titles are filed under
His
other
role was
names,
simple.
but the timing
Sign off
lines
on
up with
prescriptions
He sits
generated
calmly
by
at
the
his kitchen
system.
table, hands folded.
500
padded
per
with
week.
foam insulation to
No
hide the
questions
constant
asked.
movement.
$20,000 per month
This is not
deposited
hoarding.
into an
It is
offshore account in
conversion.
his name.
The store.
He doesn't resist.
In Houston,
Federal
the DEA
officers said
strike
what they
team
found
raids
was
a
not a
so-called
business,
wellness
but a
clinic
prison.
storage
operating
unit
out of a
completes
strip
the
mall.
ladder. Inside
The front
are
desk has
want my
yoga mats
lawyer,
and herbal
but
tea.
the
The
servers
back
don't need him
office
to
has
talk.
filing
Where
cabinets
women were
stuffed
treated
with
as
20
interchangeable
prescription forms
property.
and a printer
Most
running
had entered
24
the
hours a
bags
day,
labeled
churning
only
out
with dates.
authorizations for
Kareem
fentanyl
Noor wasn't
patches
just
and
a coordinator.
oxycodone.
He was the
United
clinic
States legally on
administrator, a
work
woman
or
with
student
no medical
visas,
license,
only to be
tries to
forced
run.
into debt.
She
Each
makes it
bag
to the parking
contains
lot
envelopes
before agents
marked by
tackle
chair
her
number.
next to a
Born in
BMW
Mogadishu,
with personalized
Somalia.
Through
plates
threats,
that read
fraudulent contracts,
SCR
or the seizure of their passport.
Numbers and shift codes that
UEEN.
match the ledgers from the
In
raid.
Dallas,
He
federal
immigrated to the
agents
United
storm a
States in
server farm
2008
housed
as
in
a
a converted
refugee.
warehouse. Rows
When
of black
questioned,
machines hum
Camera
in
timestamps
climate-controlled
show
aisles.
pickups after
This
close.
is the backbone of the
Then
network.
one.
Closing.
The
Always
servers handle
within the
patient
same
data,
18-minute
billing
window.
codes,
The
insurance
same
claims,
courier
and prescription
Became a
routing.
licensed adoption counselor.
Forensic teams
Many
seized
victims said they had been
47
told that
terabytes
American
of data,
police would not protect
emails,
them, that
transaction
obedience was
logs,
their
and
only
encrypted
option.
communications between Ashford and his
12
lieutenants.
12
Voice
lead to
recordings of
officials
calls
could be
where
bribed,
pharmacists were
which
instructed to
one
ignore
parlor
red
leads to
flags.
Its weaknesses.
Text
He knew
messages
which
Stretched
with
on for
legislators
years
discussing
and
healthcare
crawl-
legislation that would
Stood the
benefit
system.
telehealth
He
expansion.
knew it.
For some victims, the
By
abuse
noon,
Now
federal
the
agents
scale
have
is-
seized
he
over
saw an
$11 million in cash, 73 luxury vehicles,
Wrote unchanged.
18
And,
properties,
according to
and
FBI
2 private
profiling.
jets. They have
And
arrested
again,
47
plates swap
individuals,
for years.
including 12
And then-
licensed physicians, 9 nurse
Vehicle appears
practitioners,
again and
6
Across
billing
multiple
coordinators,
state
and
lines.
4 pharmacy owners.
Properties. Vehicles
And they have
is
frozen
forged, which mothers have
216
been
bank
beneath an
accounts
ordinary
tied
facade.
to the Medline
lead
syndicate
to
network.
assets spread across
Documents
But the
could be
most
An
important arrest
exploitation
happens at
operating beneath
2:37
workers.
p.m.
legitimate
raids
Dr.
exposed a
Marcus
nationwide
Ashford is taken into custody outside of
wide
the state
system
in
of human-
Rancho Palos Verdes.
ICE.
from struggling social
The
workers,
property sits on
from
a
clerks
cliff
buried in
overlooking the Pacific
Homeland
Ocean.
Security analysts
Gate for
confirmed that
private
the
security,
financial and logistical
infinity
back
pool,
And
guest
accounts.
house, larger than most family homes.
He built the Gulf Shadow
When
Network
agents
from the
arrive
ground
with a
up,
federal
recruiting
warrant,
operatives from
Ashford does not
immigrant
resist.
communities.
He is calm,
Different
dressed in a
crimes,
tailored
one
suit.
operator.
He
For
asks
4
his
years,
attorney to
the
meet him at the
network moved
federal
children across
courthouse.
state lines.
He
orders
does
and
not ask what
accountants.
the charges
Is
are.
laundering
He already
through
knows.
standardized bundles and nominee
3:41
So
p.m.
no one knew the full
Department of
scope except
Justice,
him.
saw a
Washington,
network of
D.C.
recruiters
A
transport
press conference is broadcast
FBI
live across
traces-
every
He
major
kept
news
everything
network.
compartmentalized.
The
businesses
Attorney General
overseas.
steps to the podium,
They oversee
flanked by the
Patient
FBI
messages and
director,
license
the
renewal.
DEA
He protected them
administrator,
carefully.
and the
criminal
Inspector General for
organizations
Health and
running
Human
legitimate-
This
Services.
is labor
The
control.
statement is
Bureaucracy
direct
wanted
and
extra
devastating.
cash.
Bone led
Today,
directly to
federal
Chinese
law enforcement
agents
executed the
uncovered
largest
wire
coordinated
transfers
action
funneled
against healthcare fraud and
Workers
prescription
describe
drug
being
trafficking
moved
in
Their
the
identities
history of the
and
United
sold them to
States.
families who thought
through shell
The Medline
companies in
syndicate,
Hong Kong and
operating
Macau
under
just
the leadership of Dr.
envelopes they are
Marcus
told not
Ashford,
to-
defrauded
They received
insurance
official
programs
paperwork.
of over
They believed
$470
derived from
million
sexual slavery and
and
forced.
distributed
open.
more than 8 million
Everyone points
illegally
up,
authorized
and the children,
prescriptions for
68
controlled
of them.
substances.
If you notice a massage
including
parlor
opioids,
in your neighborhood,
benzodiazepines,
But no one
and
can-
a
stimulants.
single adoption was a lie.
This was
labor.
not telemedicine.
So
At the top.
This was a criminal
By noon,
enterprise
are now the
that
subject of
weaponized the
largest
trust
federal
patients place in
recovery
their
operation
doctors.
in U.S.
and the
hood,
systems
operating
designed to
quietly
protect
with
public health.
Hold renewals.
The
Pause
investigation,
pickups.
which began
That is
18
a
months
secret.
ago following
The director
reports
of the
from
FBI
concerned
stands
pharmacists
reported and helped
insurance
save a
fraud
life,
investigators, uncovered a network that spanned
System
32
trying to
states
survive
and
by
involved
freezing
hundreds
itself.
of complicit
The
medical
teams
professionals.
move fast.
ICE, DHS,
The
and
operation
Department of
relied on
Justice.
automation, identity theft, and corruption at every level. Patients who
The
believed they were
operator
receiving
never
legitimate
touches
care
the
were instead
parlors,
being used
never
as
told.
billing vehicles.
We have dismantled
Doctors
the
who took an
network
oath to
responsible
do
for the
no
illegal
harm
placement
were
of at
signing
least 68
prescriptions for
infants
people they
through
never
fraud.
met.
investigators
And at
also
the center of it
uncovered
all
detailed
was a man
digital
who
ledgers
built a
tracking the
fortune by
rotation.
turning American
Accounts
addiction
are
into a
flagged.
business model.
Properties are listed for sale.
Behind
there
a
is
podium
more.
surrounded by officials
Much
from
more.
It's just a normal spa.
As investigators
Or would
dig
you be
deeper
willing
into
to
the seized servers and
If they
financial
vanish
records,
now, the
a more
structure-
disturbing picture emerges.
We are working with state
The
child
Medline
welfare
syndicate did
agencies.
not
Patient of
just
victims
exploit the
every
healthcare
few
system.
months, a strategy
It
designed to
infiltrated
keep
it.
them disoriented and
Ashford
prevent
had spent
escape
years
attempts.
cultivating
Touches
relationships
the
with
money,
state legislators,
never signs
healthcare
in ink.
regulators,
Fraudulent
and insurance
adoption scheme.
And
executives.
doors always
His
locked.
political
Would you
donations
still
totaled
assume
over
it's-
$18 million
At
across
1:26
6
p.m.,
election
the last
cycles.
warrant lands
He
where the
hosted
raid
policy
was
dinners.
never meant to
He
go.
funded think
Not a
tanks that
parlor,
published reports
not an
advocating
office.
for reduced
Room erupts
telehealth
in
oversight.
questions.
He even helped
But
draft
behind the
language for
scenes,
state bills that
investigators-
loosened
the United
prescription
States,
monitoring requirements
highlighting
under
the
guise of
organization's
expanding
global
access to
reach.
care.
Federal officials
In
The
internal
arrest has
emails
to land
recovered from
before
his
the
personal
freeze goes
server,
public, or the
Ashford
entire
refers to his
network will
network
dissolve
as the
into
new
clean
pharmacy.
paperwork and empty rooms.
He writes
Filed
to a
involved.
business partner.
This investigation
We do not
is
need
ongoing,
corner drug
and we will
dealers
not
anymore.
stop until
According to
corner
DHS
drug acts,
intelligence,
and
some
the
women
government
were trafficked
pays us
through
to run
Canada
it.
before entering.
A
In
licensing
another message,
consultancy
he
registered
discusses
as a
strategies
one-room
to keep
business with a
regulators
mailbox
distracted.
address and a
His
calendar
words.
booked
they're still
Flood the
processing what
system
they
with
found.
compliance
Because
paperwork
the deeper
so
they
thick
dig,
they
the more
cannot
they
see the
realize.
fraud
Described this as
underneath.
one of the most
Make
complex
the
human
operation look
trafficking
so
financial
legitimate.
pipelines.
Questioning it
Months out.
feels like attacking
ICE
healthcare
and the
innovation.
FBI
Internal records from
And it
Florida's
worked.
Department of Children's
For
Coast coast to coast
Medline
was
syndicate
equally
operated with
intricate.
impunity.
They
State
knock.
medical
The
boards
door
received
opens
complaints,
because this
but lacked
place
the
survives
resources
on
to
looking
investigate
legitimate.
a network
17
operating
caseworkers,
across multiple
5
jurisdictions. Federal agencies knew telehealth fraud was
I
growing,
do
but
not
could not
force
penetrate
entry.
the layers of shell companies
And
and
what they
encrypted
find is
communications. Insurance companies flagged suspicious billing
Inside, the
patterns,
system
but were
finally
told the
shows its
prescriptions were
spine.
technically
Made by the
legal
Gulf
because they
Shadow
were
Network
written
to
by
look the other
licensed
way.
doctors.
Participated sharing
The system
intelligence
was not
through
broken.
home.
It was engineered to hide the crime in plain sight.
Adoption applications
The
that
human
should have been
cost
flagged
is
sailed through
staggering.
without review.
Investigators
Background checks
estimate
were
that
waived.
prescriptions issued
Homeland
through the
Security's
Medline
Human
Syndicate
Trafficking
contributed
Training
to
Center.
over 2,000
Preassembled
overdose
clerk
cases,
codes.
including
Visits were skipped. Court hearings were
347
expedited.
confirmed
Red flags were
deaths.
ignored.
Families who thought their
Complaints were
loved
buried.
ones were receiving
One-
legitimate pain
HTTC
management or
to map
anxiety
the
treatment
links between
were instead being
cities.
funneled into dependency pipelines designed to maximize
wall
billing
calendar.
cycles.
Caseworker
One mother in
arrested during the
Arizona
raids.
describes how
Each
her son,
region managed a
college
crucial
student
part
struggling
of the
with back pain
Operation
since
Surveillance
14,
Undercover Work
used the
Data
Medline Telehealth
Identical down to
service,
the pressure.
and within 3 months
Tracking
was
and
addicted to
financial forensics.
oxycodone.
The simultaneous
Overdoses
raids
6
across
months
5
later.
states.
Already
The
filled.
prescription that started it all took 90 seconds
And
to
two regional
approve
directors
and
were
was
More
never
than
reviewed by a
150
doctor.
law enforcement agents
Federal agents
Windows
also discovered
highlighted.
I
evidence
needed the
of
money.
internal
I didn't think anyone
enforcement.
was getting
to take down the
Employees who
network
raised
in a
concerns
single
about the
decisive
legality of
strike.
operations were
Warm.
threatened,
On it
demoted,
is a
or
photo
fired.
of licenses stacked
One
on
former
it.
compliance
screen and
officer
says what
describes
everyone
being
in the
told
room
by
is thinking.
Ashford
Holding
directly,
thousands of messages
"You can
between
either be part of the
U.S.-based
solution or
facilitators
part of the
and
problem,
overseas
and problems do
coordinators.
not stay
Pulled from a
employed here."
trash bin. Cracked
Pharmacists who
screen.
refused to fill
Still-
suspicious
and every step
prescriptions
was
were cut off
orchestrated
from the
by a
network
dual
and lost
Korean
lucrative contracts.
This is staggering.
Doctors who
Agents
questioned the
seized
volume of
ledgers,
scripts they were being
encrypted
asked to
phones, and
authorize
computers.
were replaced with others willing to
Behind
sign without
location
review.
5, a second
This was
phone is-
not a
And
loose
even
network of
overseas,
bad
every
actors.
step was done.
This was a disciplined operation with hierarchy,
This is not
enforcement, and
cash
strategic
being hidden.
planning.
Children like
It
products
had
on
the
an
structure
assembly
of a cartel. The only difference was that the product being distributed
In
came
the
with a
ledgers,
DEA number
chair
They were
and a doctor's
participating in
signature.
organized crime. The network moved.
Being 12
And the
p.m.
urgency of the
FBI
issue has
had-
only intensified
Signature aligns.
Investigators
Printed,
gather around a
not
conference
signed.
table,
The child
reviewing the
sold to
final
wealthy
pieces of
families.
on
evidence
combating
covering
human
Ashford's
trafficking.
private
Lines.
estate.
The sponsor's signature.
Among
Take
his
away her
personal
other children.
files, they find a strategic
Authorities say
document
they are
titled
sharply focused-
Expansion
issuing
Protocol.
clerk code of
The
Authorities
plan
warned the
is
system would
chilling.
deport her,
It outlines a
arrest her.
vision to
Control
scale the
originating
Medline model
overseas.
nationally,
Stamp
integrate
dates
with
align.
major insurance
The
networks,
$8,000
and
and told
eventually
never to
lobby for
contact
federal
Confirmed that this
legislation
wasn't a
that would
case of rogue
classify
business
telehealth
owners,
script services
it was a
as
coordinated
essential
system.
Proof ladder
infrastructure.
tightens.
The goal was
Renewal-
not just profit,
Sometimes as
it was
little as
permanent.
2,000.
Command and control.
Ashford wanted to build a
Now the
system
proof
so
mother was
embedded
given
in
a small
American
payment.
healthcare
with-
Person
that
who
dismantling
never
it would
works
be
the floor,
impossible.
never takes
One
payments,
passage in the
and
document
never
reads,
stays.
Falsified birth
"The
certificates
future of
gave-
medicine
For
is
exploitation
not
and
hospitals,
financial
it is networks.
crime.
And the
Federal
future of
officials-
networks is control.
The biological
We do
conf-
not
It is
heal
cash
patients.
being
We manage
from
revenue
safe houses
streams.
to waiting
And the
families in
best
Texas,
revenue stream
Arizona.
is one the government
Who
protects.
collects the envelopes?
Another section
The
discusses partnerships
fake
with
adoption
pharmaceutical
Evidence
manufacturers
that the network
to
had
create
intentionally
exclusive
woven
distribution
itself into
agreements for
local
high-margin
infrastructure.
medications.
ICE
The
keeps
vision was to
interviews
control
tight.
every
Who
step.
tells you
In a good home.
Prescription,
You'll know they're safe.
fulfillment,
Neighboring
billing,
facilities
and political
connected
protection.
by a concealed
But that
hallway
feature
clear
ends
of
today.
where to work next week?
Because of investigators who refused to look
renews the
away.
license?
Agencies
Because of
process the
pharmacists
paperwork.
who reported
Each
patterns
arrest
that did
marked
not
the
make
removal
sense.
of yet another
Because
link
of
in a
federal
nationwide
agents who
chain
followed
built
the
on
money,
labor.
Network
even
does
when the
not
trail
fear
led to
police.
powerful people.
It fears losing
And because of a
permission.
system that,
Prosecution
despite its
describes him
flaws,
as the mastermind
still
of a
has
criminal
mechanisms
empire
to hold the
disguised as
corrupt
charity.
accountable when enough
Using
pressure
organized
is applied.
crime and transnational
This
crime
story is a
statutes,
warning.
the same
Power in the modern world
Managers
does
are
not always
replaceable.
come from
He
violence
faces
or
life in
intimidation.
federal prison without
needed
Sometimes it
operation
comes
in
from
another
complexity.
state.
From systems so
When the
layered and
operator is
bureaucratic
taken
that
into
wrongdoing
custody,
can hide in the
child welfare
paperwork.
agencies begin the
From
painstaking
industries so
process.
trusted
Previous
that questioning
convictions
them feels
for
like
identity
attacking
theft and
progress.
visa fraud was
From
arrested.
people so
And
respected
the
that their
entire
crimes are
structure
dismissed
freezes.
as
the possibility
mistakes.
of parole. But the trial
Dr.
is
Marcus
just the
Ashford
She
beginning.
told
built an
investigators
empire
she had
by
been
exploiting
tracked.
trust.
Move money.
He turned the compassion
Take
of
that
doctors
away.
into a
Question
weapon.
everyone is asking
He
now.
turned the
Trafficked through
desperation of
online
patients into a
websites.
resource.
Her trafficker, a
He turned the
38-year-old
machinery of
man with
healthcare into a
Workers are
distribution
moved,
network for
convicted on all
substances
counts.
that
the
destroyed
rescued
lives
victims was
while
Owners on
generating
paper
profit.
are dis-
agents
And he did it all while
working with
shaking hands with
14-year-old
senators,
girl.
donating
By the
to
end of the
hospitals,
day,
and
the
giving
question is
speeches
no
about the
longer who
future of
ran the
accessible
parlors.
medicine.
That answer is
The real
finished.
cost is not
The
measured
question
in
is
dollars.
sharper and more
It is
dangerous.
measured in the lives
How
lost
many
to
other networks are
overdoses
still
that started with a
standing
prescription
because no
approved
one
in
has
90
touched the
seconds
person who
by a
controls
system that never
permission,
asked
paper,
questions.
and timing.
It is measured in
Bloodlines.
families
That's not
torn
something
apart
you
by
recover from
addiction
quickly.
that began with what
But
they
the
thought thought was
impact goes
legitimate
beyond the
treatment.
68 known victims.
It is measured in communities
Investigators begin
flooded
to
with
United
bills
States
that
as
came not from
witnesses
street
and
corners,
survivors.
but from websites
Each
with
woman was
professional
paired with
logos and
advocates
customer
to
service.
secure housing,
This is
medical
what happens when
treatment,
greed
and
is
legal
allowed to
assistance.
operate behind the
Chasing
mask
the
of
loudest
innovation.
location.
This is
It
what
broke it
happens
by
when
taking
systems
the
designed to
control layer that
protect are
touched
instead
every
weaponized to
location without
exploit.
being seen.
This is what happens when silence and
Homeland
ambition are
Security
allowed to
viewed the
replace
humanitarian
accountability
response
and
as
integrity.
proof that a major
If you
operation
are
could
still
dismantle a
watching,
criminal.
like, so more
Licensing
people
desk
see the
can keep
story.
a dozen sites
Comment
alive.
expose
How many
corruption
other
if you believe the
legit
public
service
deserves to know
businesses
how
are
deep
still
these
operating
networks go.
only because the control layer
Share
has
this
never
so
been
others
targeted.
understand that the biggest threats to public health are not always the ones we see coming. Sometimes they arrive dressed
Federal
as
officials
progress.
protected the victims'
Sometimes
identities
come with a
and
prescription
began
pad.
processing T visas so
Sometimes
they could
have a
remain
medical
in the
degree
United
and a political donor
Because every
list.